GNC 593. It's Friday, July 16th, and you're listening to the Geek News Central podcast, sponsored by GoDaddy.com. Geek News Central is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. Hey, I got a great show lined up for you, and I know it's going to be a good one because, hey, it's almost the weekend, right? Well, anyway, strap in. Here it comes.
All right, people, I need a go, no-go for the Geek News Central podcast. Digital archive recorders.
We're go fly.
Microphone.
We're go fly.
Video feed.
Go.
Web browser.
Go.
RSS data stream aggregator.
Go fly.
Interflux Toddism suppressor.
All right. I'm confused.
Host readiness check.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Voice ready confirmed.
The Geek News Central podcast is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to go. Cue Todd in
5,
Button, who's got the button?
4,
There is no cause for alarm.
3,
Everybody hold on to something.
2,
Just press the button.
1.
Aloha and welcome to the Geek News Central podcast, coming to you as live as it can be from the beautiful state of Hawaii, overlooking Greater Oahu. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. And boy, oh boy, it's was running just a little bit late, getting ready tonight. Jumped in the shower real quick before I got the show, and I jumped in here. It was right at a little bit after 8, but I wanted to get live as quick as possible. I want to welcome all of you to the show. Of course, my name is Todd Cockmer, and of course, you're listening to the Geek News Central podcast. Make sure you get over to geeknewscentral.com. Check out all the great content over there. Of course, check out our archive podcasts available via the podcast link on the website. I want to give a warm welcome to the Ohana, all of you that are longtime listeners of the show. If you're new to the show, welcome to the family. Welcome to the Ohana here. And it's a beautiful evening here in Honolulu. This whole week's been kind of hot and sticky, but finally tonight the trade winds have started to just move just a little bit. So we're getting a little bit of relief. So we've had our, what I like to call our 3 or 4 days of summer. And so now it's time for the trade winds to come back and to get nice and comfy again here in Hawaii. Well, of course, we have listeners that tune into the show from 165 countries worldwide, and I want to say aloha to all of you. And if you haven't yet, sign up for our newsletter. The newsletter contains all the content that's going to be talked about in the show. I'll be sending that out immediately following the podcast, and it'll have all the links, everything that I cover, and then some. So the important part about getting the newsletter is, hey, when you're listening to the show and you want to say, oh, man, what's he talking about? I want to check that link out. Boom, you can go right to your email account and check it out. Of course, you can always check out the show notes at geeknewscentral.com as well. And, of course, don't forget to get subscribed to the show. You can find that in the second column of the website at geeknewscentral.com. There's a place there to be able to get access to the blog, to get access to, really pretty much everything that is available for actually making getting subscribed to the show. And you know what I'm doing here? I actually forgot to flip a little switch earlier in the show, and I went to cue an actual menu, and it wasn't there. So now it's there. Now I can cue it up. Hey, of course, if you're watching us on the Roku, thanks so much for watching, and starting to get a lot of feedback. For those of you that are watching on the Roku, that's exciting because I know the numbers continue to go up. And, of course, if you've got your Apple TV hacked and you're watching us on Boxy or watching with Boxy Online, welcome as well. Hey, boy, this week's been kind of a roller coaster ride here. My wife called me. I was in downtown Honolulu. She called me, what was it, yesterday? And she said, honey, I think my car was robbed. And I'm like, your car's gone? She goes, no, inside. And apparently, well, what had happened was I left early in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, to drop one of the kids off. They got this summer fun project. And I had noticed that her passenger side door was just a little bit cracked. I thought, maybe one of the kids just didn't shut it tight. But what it turned up being was she'd left it unlocked, and over the evening, someone had gotten in the car and took a digital camera. She had a bag in there with some store. Basically, it was like those store cards where you basically can get, where they're pre-charged, with a little money on them, gift cards, I guess. And even tonight, she said, I also found out that they got a watch, too. So overall, probably about $1,000 worth of damages as far as stolen goods go. So I had the police department up, and they filed a police report. And it is our fault for leaving the car unlocked, and we were really good about it, but just missed. And this is the first time the neighbor, at least the police officer said, this is the first car that's been hit in the neighborhood in a long time. So I informed all the neighbors, and they're all ready to pounce on anybody that's not supposed to be in the neighborhood. But it's just one of those things. She's down about it. I tell her, hey, no harm, no foul. The windows wasn't busted. They didn't steal the car. It was just some material goods, and life goes on. And but still, kind of makes you upset. It's just one of those things. I hope whoever needed the stuff needed it really bad. I hope they pawned it and got good money for it and was able to hopefully not buy illicit drugs or something like that, but maybe pay the rent or something. I hope it went to some good cause at least. And but in these situations, you never know. And I'm sure it was probably just some kid, and I'd have hit the pawn shops around here. But there's a pawn shop on every corner, it seems like, in any town that you're in these days. So no different here in Honolulu. There's plenty of them, but we'll see. We'll see what happens if anything pops up. But I doubt it. I think that stuff is gone forever. The only bad thing was, I wish I had the memory sticks, because there was about 200-300 pictures on there. So just one of those deals. Okay. For those of you that have you been getting your swag packages? Now, with this little incident that went on last night, I had put all the swag packages out over a couple of days into the mail. So I just want to make sure, if you have not gotten a swag package and you thought you were supposed to get one, please email me immediately. I need to know, because if those were actually taken out of the mailbox, then that ups the ante quite a little bit. So if you've gotten your swag packages, send me a little email. Say, yeah, I got my stuff, and let me know. I'd definitely appreciate it. Hey, today I saw a demo of the new TriCaster we're going to get here at Geek News Central, and boy, I tell you, I'm pretty excited. But when we got all through almost the entire presentation, it was mentioned that I have a switcher down here. Now let me see if I can show those of you that are on the actual video portion of the show. Let me flip to this. And if you can see right here, this device right down here that I'm pointing to, this is my video switcher. So I can switch in and out the videos, change different angles. Well, anyway, what's going on is that I think that camera needs to move. That just drives me nuts. The switcher for this new box, if you would imagine, now we're going to have an 8-camera system, actually 22 live channels, of being able to put 22 channels of video up, 22-channel switcher, and lots of stuff we can bring in with Skype. And I'm really excited about some of the cool stuff we're going to be able to do with it. But this switcher the new switcher is not going to be ready till November. So there's some shortcomings in the current device I have. So they're saying they're going to upgrade us, but I keep the keyboard way over here that would be normally used for people that don't have a switcher. So I'm like, oh man, it's going to be ugly here for a little bit, and switching the show out. So we'll see how that works out. But otherwise, the demo just blew me away of what we're going to be able to really do with the video on the show here in the near future. So it's really exciting, almost a little bit overwhelming. I'm sure what we'll do is I'll get this thing, and then we'll go through like 3 months of learning, and you guys that are watching the video portion will be frustrated with me. But that's, hey, it comes with any type of new equipment. And like I said on the last show, we've got a home for the TriCaster Studio. It's staying within the Tech Podcast Network. One of the members over there is going to pick it up, and I've worked out a payment plan with him. He's going to be paying for it a little bit over time because it is a significant amount of money. But the main thing is we're going to be able to have one more in the system, and that's pretty exciting to me. I mentioned a little bit on the last show that we're already planning for the Consumer Electronics Show 2011, and it's like it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's the while when we were a smaller team, a lot less, we could just start like a couple weeks before we were going to go on planning, but we're going to grow so much this year, and we're actually in negotiations. We're actually going to be sending a proposal probably Monday out to the CEA on basically trying to get booth space, and so that we can have a booth to do live streaming there. Our stuff that we did at NBC Universal last year was so successful that we want to have really around-the-clock content coming out of Vegas in January. I know you guys, I don't want to talk about this too much now because you guys are going to be sick of it in a week. But so we're going to have our first meeting on Saturday and kind of talk with some of the team members and some of the repeat folks that are coming. So we're looking like we're having some new members from Tech Podcasts that are going to be attending as well. That's good. So it's a pretty good, going to be a pretty good deal for January. I'm really excited. If it all comes together, we'll have a big team down there and hopefully be able to do a lot more and get a lot more content out quickly. Along with that, we're on the hunt for sponsors. So this is a big time exposure event for any company that wants to really get eyeballs in front of a lot of people. We really spike way up in January. All shows go really through the stratosphere so far as numbers go, and it's really in a big way. So this is a great opportunity for shows to get exposure. So if you're interested, definitely drop me a line at geeknews@gmail.com. Or you can call me. Of course, the cell phone number's there on the website at geeknewscentral.com. Hey, let's take care of a little business here, and we'll get into the content. Don't want to yak too long tonight on this regular stuff before we get into the regular meat and potatoes of the show. But really, you guys know that GoDaddy is a longtime sponsor here of the show. They have got absolutely great products. You know what I've been doing recently is I've really been digging around more in the GoDaddy site because I know a lot about their base products. I know about their domain names, dedicated servers, virtual dedicated servers, but I started digging more into some of the extra add-on stuff, and they've got some pretty innovative, cool products. So what I'd like you to do is, while you may have some services over there already, that may be, just regular hosting accounts or a dedicated server or a bunch of domains, just go kind of dig around and look at their business offerings and some of the stuff that they have. There's some stuff that's pretty innovative that they have that I didn't even realize what they had available. So I'm going to let you guys look around. I'm going to do something. We're digging around over the next couple of days, and I'll share with you guys some of the cool services I found. Some stuff needs a little tweaking. I mean, just like the mailing newsletter portion. I think that was partially my fault for not getting the template right. So they delivered the emails, that's for sure, but and everything got through. But I think on my end, I just needed to do some work on the template and jump the gun a little bit too early on that new newsletter service. But it works great, and just we'll have to get the template tweaked. But anyway, when you get to your checkout counter at GoDaddy, use the promo code Todd. That'll save you 10%. Of course, Geek5 will save you 15% on orders $20 or more. Todd20 will save you 20% on a 1-year shared hosting account. The ComSale promo code is still being reassigned for renewal, so don't worry, that'll be happening. It takes probably about a week to get that in the system and get it changed over. So I'll let you know as soon as ComSale becomes available for .com renewals. And I know some of you are holding on renewals just because of that simple fact, so I'll keep you advised on that. But anyway, thank you for GoDaddy for being a longtime sponsor here at Geek News Central. Of course, if you pick something up from the swag store at cafepress.com/Ohana store, take a picture of it. Send it to me. Say, hey, Todd, I got a mug, I got a shirt, whatever it may be, and definitely send me an image of that. And what I'm going to do is Sam had given me some real cool, we talked about these before, some latex things, logos of Geek News Centrals and so forth. I'll send those to you if you pick up something from the Ohana store, kind of as a thank you. So appreciate any of you that pick anything up out of the Ohana store. Of course, geeknewscentral.com/insider. Become an insider of the show and support the podcast. Geeknewscentral.com offers as well where all of our offers are at. And if you're on Twitter and you want to chat with the Ohana, use the hashtag Ohana or hashtag GNC. One last thing before we get into the content. You guys know that I've been really impressed with what I have found out in my basically reaching out to Matrix Direct and actually running through their process for term life insurance. And here's what I want y'all to do. This is just give this a try. If you don't have insurance currently and you've been thinking about it, take the 2 minutes to go over to the website at Matrix Direct and just run through their quote system. They're not going to hassle you. You're not going to have no hard sell. But it takes 2 minutes to request a term life quote. And just get a price back and see what it comes out as. And really, the beauty about this is it's free. You can find out very quickly what you qualify, basically what it's going to cost you for the plan that you want. And get a free quote in a couple of minutes. Check out Matrix Direct. and they've helped over 4 million people with their life insurance needs, and they can help you too. So I want you to give it a try and let me know. And if it's more expensive than the policy that you may have already, hey, forget it, But if it's cheaper, it may be an opportunity for you to save a few bucks in this economy. That's what's important. So policies issued by American General Life Company, Houston, Texas, not available in all states. For details about this paid advertisement, please visit Matrix Direct online at matrixdirect.com/podcast. All right, thanks for them for being a long time for a new sponsor here. And let's go ahead and get into the meat of the show, which you guys all have been waiting for. Those of you that are watching online, those of you that have been listening. And let me actually bring the right banner up here. Actually, there we go. Hey, I wanted to do a quick check before I moved on. Of course, big news, out of the Gulf today was that they had shut the oil leak down. And when I started getting ready for the show, I don't think anything had changed. I think that was still the case. But BP officials are essentially saying at this point, test of cap halts oil leak, but officials are cautious. And so let's keep our fingers crossed that we are starting to see the end of this nightmare that, boy, what are we going on now? 90 days or 80-some days of oil spill into the Gulf of Mexico. And hopefully we can put this specific chapter behind us and really start getting a cleanup going. So, and really ramp that up, and let's get the Gulf, back into a safer state than what it is currently. It's going to be devastating no matter what for years to come. But hopefully this is the start of recovery and no more nasty surprises, no more of that black oil gushing into the Gulf. It's just sickening to think that it had went this long and at the rate that it had been. But finally they got a good fix on here. So, but BP remains cautious, and I think this is probably important that they do because they've had so many setbacks that it's one of those situations where, if they say they think they've got it and then it goes the other way, then it's could end up being bad. Hey, I did a review on a product. We actually have been using it for the last couple of days. It's a wireless USB audio video adapter set, and what I was really impressed with this came in a couple of weeks ago, and I just sat on my desk and I hadn't had time to play with it. And I pulled it out, and really in about 5 minutes, I basically all you do is it come with a CD, it came with a cable, an HDMI cable. So I plugged if you're watching on Ustream, I plugged the device on the right into my LCD TV that's in my bedroom. I plugged the other dongle into the laptop, ran the CD, and immediately, boom, I had my computer screen in 720p up on my screen in the bedroom. And my wife came in, and she was like, whoa. She says, that is cool. And what she likes to do is watch some Japanese videos via the internet. And she says, can I put my Japanese shows up on here? I'm like, well, let's try. So what I did is she gave me the URL, and I loaded it up and started the streaming video site that has the Japanese TV stuff. We put it into full screen mode, and it was really good. I was really pretty amazed that it was as good as it was, because I'm thinking, okay, you're going from a real small stream, right, to really as big as this thing would get. And, of course, it was cropped a little bit because the video wasn't, running. I didn't have, basically it was perfect. She just sat there. She said, you can leave the computer. So I set the computer up in the corner of the bedroom. And what's great about this is it's got the HDMI, of course, has the audio feed. And, I'm hearing Japanese TV coming out of the bedroom, and she doesn't have to look at a laptop. Fellas, this thing was supposed to come in here and actually power another monitor back here that I had behind me. I was going to be feeding some stuff into it. I think I'm going to have to spend $155 and buy this, because this video adapter set isn't leaving the bedroom. It's not. She's not letting it go. Now, it didn't work on my projection screen, so just be aware that if you pick up one of these, it has to be on an LCD screen, flat screen TV, or one of your normal computer screens. But it'll take a standard you can do a VGA or HDMI in, and 10 minutes tops from the time I opened the package up to I had video up. So she was pretty excited about that. Okay, let me go ahead here and load up the next article. And this is about superconductors. For a long time, scientists have really worked hard in order to, really get to a point where we can take the power generation lines to the next level. And really, they haven't been able to really advance on that very much, because we know that superconductors, when they are cooled close to Kelvin, really carry electronic current with no loss. But there has been a breakthrough, and physicists working with the Department of Energy, boy, there's some big heads that work over there, may have just solved the mystery. And it's what they found is, working with a copper oxide superconductor, they identified a change in electron behavior that only occurs during what they call the pseudogap phase. And the pseudogap phase is where the temperature range goes below room temperature, at which the superconductor breaks down. And they've never been able to figure out why superconductors, or the electrons basically broke down, and you couldn't get the speed of which you needed to attain, or the efficiency, for a better word. But they're excited, and they are really excited. One of the scientists said there's still a lot of work to do, but he says the potential benefits are incalculable. And we know that developing superconductors that operate without the need for coolants would just be transformational for everything. I mean, it would change the way we live essentially overnight. It really, really would. We would probably just imagine lossless power lines, where the energy comes from a power plant to your home has lost none of its energy value in the transmission. And there's a lot of loss in the lines when it's from being transmitted from a power station to currently your home for your lights. The amount of and that's why, if they were able to figure this out and replace, all these lines with superconductor material, first of all, a lot less energy would have to be generated. It's just it's scary, some of the cool stuff that would be able to be done, not only on transmission lines, but also on computers and everything else. It would really change things a lot. So they're pretty stoked on this. So we'll keep you advised on how that goes on. I found that article over at gizmodo.com. Have a link up to it in the show notes for you. Human trials start for the next DARPA mind control artificial arm. Now, are you guys familiar with DARPA? DARPA really gets some big heads thinking about, well, what could we do if we did this? Or, they advance these big ideas, and then they try to find ways to accomplish those big ideas, and they spend a lot of money doing it. But this artificial arm is actually going to be tested on humans, and they're actually going to rewire, now check this, rewire their brains to fully integrate the artificial limbs. This is a giant step here, where they're actually going to be essentially figuring out how to connect up the right sensors in the right places in the brain for a person to be able to operate this arm. So a couple of years, John Hopkins planned to test the device on as many as 5 patients. And so this could be big in the prosthetic arm space. So we're a ways away, but it's not going to be long. All these guys that have lost limbs in the war and so forth, they would be able to really gain more mobility. It just, it's amazing where we've come even in the last 20 years. But some pretty exciting stuff on the artificial arm space. All right, let's talk a little bit about Apple. You guys probably heard so much stuff about Apple that you just basically want to puke. And tomorrow we're going to find out what Apple's got planned. But here's really the comment of the day, and this is the most important headline that probably we're going to read all week. Apple products have flaws. And this is by Dave Weiner over at scripting.com. Apple products have flaws. What this latest evolution with the iPhone 4 has really proved is that Apple's not invincible. Apple makes mistakes. Apple has the same issues that other big companies do when it comes to really implementing new engineering designs, and where maybe sometimes people get a little ahead of themselves and like form over, factor over usability, or if it just work. And some articles today are saying that Steve Jobs knew about the antenna issue and ignored the engineer, and basically wanted the device smaller. And so we'll see what they're going to do tomorrow. But here's the question of the day. And this is actually a question that has been asked on several websites today. What do you think Apple's going to do tomorrow? And I think they're going to recall the iPhone. Do you think they're going to give free bumpers to everyone? Do you think they're going to extend the return policy or warranty? Do you think they're going to give you some gift cards so you can go buy a bumper? Are they going to repeat what they said, that all cell phones have loss issues? Or are they going to recall the phone? Now, if they really wanted to hit a home run out of the ballpark, they'd recall them. But there's no way they're going to recall $1.5 billion worth of phones. Or at least that's what they say the recall would cost. Not only that, how many months would it take to have this design changed and then enough inventory built to replace all those phones? There is no way. There is no way in this world that they are going to recall the phones. So my guess is, and what I think they're going to do, is I think they're going to give you a little credit. I think they're going to give you a little cash to spend in the Apple Store. Maybe a $50 gift card for those of you that go through like 50 steps to get one. I don't know. We'll have to see what develops. What do you guys think? And probably it's too late to take a poll on the show, but any of you that are on chat tonight on Ustream, just type in, what do you think they're going to do? Recall the phone? Free bumpers? Give you some cash? They're going to give you, basically say it's not an issue? They don't call press releases this short of notice and not really do nothing. But here's something that's even more issues today, and those of you that are Apple fanboys out there, have you had any problems upgrading? Apparently, they've updated the operating system to 4.0.1, and owners are reporting installation errors. So, say that the process is repeatedly failing. And this is cropping up on the support forums, and people are not having much luck upgrading their phones. So have you had that issue? And this article is over at cnet.com. Thanks to them for that. But, it's like they're batting 100 or batting 1,000 here, because striking out on multiple fronts. Now, there has been some folks that have come out and said, what problem? I don't have a problem with the phone. The phone's working fine for me. I don't know. I don't have one. I don't. One of our writers at Geek News Central has one, and he's not. I'll let you read his article yourself over there at the website. But some folks are saying there's no issue. So what's the problem? So only time will tell. What I think too is that every person's, I guess, makeup is a little bit different. Density of skin, and basically depending on your weight. So a lot of it probably has to do with the thickness of your skin, of your fingers. There's a whole bunch of things that can go into changing the RF waves. And really someone that's probably super skinny, probably holding the phone, maybe don't have as much issue as someone that's got big fingers. And it's just a fact of the way RF radiation tries to propagate different materials. So we'll see what happens. Hey, over on newtv.com, I'm not a chat roulette user yet, but now they've got channel roulette and local roulette, and I can just see this local roulette turning into something that would end up being a little bit crazy, because we already know that there's a bunch of individuals that are on chat roulette doing and showing things that they shouldn't show. So now imagine that local roulette will route you to the local edition. So I load up local roulette here, and it sends me to someone that's on the system from Hawaii, and that person in Hawaii is doing something. The chance of finding that individual is probably a little higher. So people can start their own channels as well by adding a subdomain. So that's kind of cool. So are you using this? I'm not, but there is an interesting breakdown of usage of the site, saying there's 71% boys using it, 15% girls, and 14% perverts. So that 14% are the ones that worry me the most. Okay, 10 easy ways to enhance your Facebook page. And I haven't really done a lot to enhance my Facebook page. This is a pretty good article. This is over on webworkerdaily.com. And it's got some pretty good suggestions here. And I actually went through and said, oh, I should do that. Yep, that's a good one. But here's the list of different things you should do to enhance your Facebook page. And let me actually bring that up on the website. Here's the list. And these are some customizations you can make. Constant Contact. This is a popular email newsletter builder that has been already made an app. So you can basically put on there, join my list tab to your page. Docs, you can share docs with fans, adds a doc profile to your page, even collaborate on docs. Tumblr, you can syndicate your Tumblr post to your blog page feed. And I'm not a Tumblr user. Posterous, because you can post anything to your Posterous using email. Photos, video, music, documents, or files, you can use the same function, post to your page via Posterous attached to your page feed. Of course, you can do some stuff with network blog, sign-up forms, easy schedule. You can actually put a TalkShoe app in there, too. I didn't know they had one. My Etsy is a... do you have an Etsy shop? I don't even know what that is. Fan apps. It's a suite of fan page tools, including top 5 applications where fans can select their 5 favorite things in your branded content. So I don't know if we're going to be putting fan apps upon my Facebook page, but there's a few ideas there for you. And if you're using any of those services, great way to enhance your Facebook page. Good article over on Ars Technica, and this is a question we probably ask one another from time to time when we're talking about energy, and of course probably fits along with what's going on with BP. But the folks over at Ars Technica have an article entitled, What Happens When We Run Out of Oil and Coal? And by estimations, they say that if we use coal at the current rate that we're using it, we've probably got another 150 years worth of easily accessible reserves, and maybe another 50 to 60 years of fossil fuels. And this is by, the science that they're out there that are, trying to gauge these things. But a lot of questions are being asked, and the question that's being asked by a Nobel Peace Prize winner is, what do we do? And should we start thinking about this now? And should we start building, working towards technologies that are going to sustain us when these things run out? One thing he says is, okay, how, when we run out of hydrocarbons, how are we going to fly airplanes? Good question. The next question basically is how do we get cross-country fast? Do we drive? You can't fly. So there's all kinds of questions that need to be thought about and solutions to basically the lack of hydrocarbons and coal. I can see us becoming definitely a more nuclear usage. I just think that is inevitable. I don't think there's no way you're going to avoid that in the future. And but we're gonna have to save some of these hydrocarbons in order to build some of the stuff we're gonna need. But I won't be around. I guess I'll be gone, and my kids will probably start having to deal with it. And but there's lots of questions to be asked, and you really, I don't think there's anybody out there smart enough now to really answer it. And definitely not very much economics or not much money being put behind really kind of figuring out how we're going to sustain ourselves beyond the end of time when we run out of oil and coal. So, what are you guys' thoughts? What do you guys talk about around the water cooler when you're talking about this specific subject? Love to hear your feedback. And I don't want to get into a global warming conversation over this. This is just purely a theoretical discussion about, what happens when we run out of oil and coal. Or do you think don't think we're going to run out? Do you think they're going to be able to find enough? What do you guys think? 619-342-7365 is the voicemail hotline. Of course, you can email me at geeknews@gmail.com. I should have covered this in the iPhone 4 stuff, and actually I'll bring it up here on the page so you guys can see it. There's basically a chart now of the new bar display and what the changes were made by Apple in the iOS 4 tweak. And in the 4.1 version, essentially anything from, let's see, what do they say here? minus 51 dB to minus 76s, and that's basically when you're going to have full signal strength. From minus 76 to minus 87 will be your second bar. The way it used to be was minus 51 dB to minus 91 indicated full strength. So if you were always getting full strength bars on your phone, you probably now are only going to have like 4 bars instead of 5. So that's what they're going to change. Love to hear you guys' how's it felt to see your bars kind of change in configuration in different places that you go when you normally know you have a full single and now you don't. But there is some other changes made at the lower end from a minus 107 to minus 121, where they're going to show you a bar all the way down to minus 121, where it used to be only go to minus 113. Usually when I have no bars at minus 113 with the current system, I usually means I'm not connected to anyone or talking, because it's done. Now, a survey came out on top 10 home theater devices. This is kind of it's kind of just a random survey done amongst a group over Arstenica.com. And the top 10 most popular items in entertainment centers today was Nintendo Wii, won first place, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, HTPC, NEOS, I don't know what that is, Gigabit Ethernet Hub was like number 5, that's weird, Logitech Harmony Remote, smartphone, Blu-ray player, PS3 Blu-ray disc remote, and Xbox Media Center at the bottom. Now, so that was the 10 most popular items in your entertainment center today. But entertainment center items by category, game consoles won big, smartphones were second, HTPC was third, networking was fourth, remote control was fifth. So kind of an interesting breakdown here, with storage being, of course, the most unsexy thing. But they got a full breakdown of the list here. I'll have this up for you to check out and review on your own. Hey, Clear Channel is saying, hey, with all these internet-based radio stations, we want to own more radio stations. We don't think we should be constricted anymore of only being own a certain number of radio stations, because we're now competing with the internet. Wow. So Clear Channel is asking the FCC to consider its broadcast ownership rules. And this is another, basically Clear Channel is basically saying, hey, we need to have more offerings on the radio so we can compete with the internet. There's no way they can compete with the internet. They can put as many they can put radio stations up so that there's like one every megahertz when you increase up the dial. Of course, you can't do that with FM because of the overlap. But they think they have to be able to own more to compete with broadcast. Broadcast radio has to compete with internet radio. Huh. Are they really that worried? If they're that worried, does it mean that terrestrial radio as we know it is already dead? Trucker Tom had a good article on Geek News Central talking exactly about that. He's talking about how he was using his smartphone to be able to listen to Pandora. He was using a Sprint HTC Evo. He was driving, of course, Tom is a truck driver, and he wrote an article. Basically, its history is about to repeat itself, and going into the simple fact that, hey, he does not have to tune up a radio station anymore. All he has to do now is, load up his cell phone, and he can listen to Pandora. And he says it's easy, and he was pretty excited about it. Now, it dropped out a few times, and they would pick back up. But maybe Clear Channel has a reason to be scared about the folks that are doing streaming radio and different types of audio programming. Personally, I could care less if they're having trouble. They're worried about their model. I truly believe that here in the very near future, every one of us will have an internet-based radio, basically connected via some wireless network, and we're going to be able to listen to any type of program we want, whenever we want, and not be constrained by the likes of Clear Channel and forced to listening to 20 minutes worth of advertising for every 40 minutes of content. This show, you get about 3 or 4 minutes worth of advertising for 75 minutes, so I think that's a pretty good trade. Users of location services are worried about robberies and stalking, and there was a survey done by WebRoot that shows that 39% of social network users who own geolocation-ready mobile devices do currently use those services. 55% of those people are concerned about a loss of privacy, and 45% are worried about potential criminals knowing when they're away from home. 49% of female users said they were highly concerned about letting a stalker know their whereabouts. Says 32% of men also echoed this concern about either the wives or girlfriends. And those over 40 tended to be more worried about all of the above than those between the ages of 18 and 39. Now, one of the things that the police officer said when he came to my house was, "Can we review your cameras?" That's the beauty about having security at the house. The little rascals that came and robbed the car, they may not have actually gotten away with anything. So, I just wanted to add that. Couldn't resist. But, when we're out and about and we check in someplace with Foursquare, if someone was really targeting you, they could say, Todd's over here. It could be an issue. And, but that's why we all have to really choose and pick where we use these services and how we use them and what we say on Twitter. If we're going to put a tweet out that says, "Hey, me and the family, we're loading up and we're going to the Sahara Desert." Well, anybody that's following us on Twitter could say, "Hey, Todd's on vacation and no one's watching the house." So, there's been some robberies already. So people are more worried about this. So we'll see how this develops over time. I'm sure there's going to be more and more criminals caught simply by the simple fact that they followed some leads. And I wonder if we're going to get a little video here. I want to show you guys. Have you guys seen the F-35? This is actually an advertisement. Let me turn that off. And I don't know if there's any way I can... Nope, there's no way I can override that. I'm going to link you up to an article on the BBC that is a guide to the new F-35 Joint Strike Fighter. This is an amazing aircraft. And of course, I'm an aircraft buff. I'm an aviation guy by heart. And the BBC was given exclusive access to the world's most advanced fighter jet, the F-35, the Joint Strike Fighter. Of course, it's built by Lockheed Martin here in the United States and provided to the United States and UK military. But you got to check this video out that BBC has up. It's a very impressive aircraft. And, talk about the Harrier days when the guys were, having big challenges and hovering the aircraft. This thing does it on its own. They don't even have to. They're kind of like hands-free, so it's pretty cool. But I'll have the link up for you in the show notes. Hey, over on AMD. AMD, of course, is continued competition with Intel, but Advanced Micro Devices have announced Their revenues rose 40% to 1.65 billion, and that compares with 1.55 billion of the estimates that were put forth by a variety of investment firms. But good news for AMD for staying profitable. I think competition is good between AMD and Intel and other chip manufacturers. It just keeps everyone on their toes and keeps the marketplace healthy. Now, an interesting development over the last, this is a storm that's been brewing for a while. But, Google is becoming more of everything. And they know a lot about us. Definitely, I wish sometimes the Google search algorithms would go a little bit more my way. That's one of the reasons why I ask you guys when you're, if you want to support the show with your blogs and stuff, that you always link over to my GoDaddy promo page. That builds me page rank with Google when people do that. But, if anyone can really figure out the secret sauce for Google search algorithm, they could really become rich very fast. But we know that it's a very big challenge to get a website in the top 10 ranking as for a specific search term. But the New York Times has fired the first salvo across the bar of Google, basically saying that the potential impact of Google's algorithm on the internet economy is such that it's worth exploring ways to ensure that the editorial policy guiding Google's tweaks is solely intended to improve the quality of the results and not help Google's other businesses. So basically, they're saying here is Google tweaking the search results to help them add extra zeros to their bottom line. And they're wondering, along with the Financial Times, whether or not Google should become underneath some scrutiny of the United States government to look at the algorithm and basically see if Google is adding any markers in there that would give them an upper hand in search results. So this is a issue that's poked its head up in Europe as well. And you just think about it. People have been devastated when their web pages have been delisted from Google, and there's nothing people really can do. I'm really careful to put no follow on my tags and make sure everything is marked the way it's supposed to be so that I don't get impacted by Google. Now, one thing I found with Geek News Central is we had established a page rank of 7 about a year and a half ago, and of my own doing, I think I caused the page rank of the website to go down to a page rank of 6 based upon something I did. Now, I corrected that action, but here it is 18 months later, and we still haven't regained the page rank of 7. Now, what does that mean for a site like Geek News Central? It means a lot less traffic between 6 and 7. Probably lost Google search-wise. We probably lost 25% of our Google inbound search traffic, and really that drives a lot of traffic to the website when you have 10,000 web pages on a website, which Geek News Central does. So it is an interesting question. Do you guys think that Google has tweaked their search results to give them a unfair advantage? I know that one thing is for sure, you have no problem finding Google products. They come up in a variety of searches. It's right there at the top, the Google, link to Google stuff. So do you guys see Google services popping up in places you think, why should it be there? Does it deserve to be in the top results? But of course, Google says that they have to keep its search secrets secret and out of the hand of spammers. And you can absolutely guarantee that spammers are really trying to work the system very hard. They want to be at the top to beat, everyone else. It's a lot of money to be won or lost. Well, one thing about living in China, you can almost be guaranteed if you say something you shouldn't say that the Chinese government's going to shut down blogs. And that's what it's done here over the last 24 hours. It's shut down a variety of dissident and blogs that have outspoken commentary. And these blogs, even though many of them were hosted in the United States, basically they blocked access to them from China through the Great Firewall of China. So isn't it, I just wonder if we have any Chinese listeners and how they feel about being censored by their country. How do you feel about not really being free? And does it bother you? Would you like to have more of the freedoms we do have here in the United States? Don't know if anybody from China is actually. I know that we have stats that say people listen in China, and I don't know if it's expats or if it's Chinese that actually listen to the show. Love to hear some feedback from our Ohana that listen in China. Companies not using social networks are at risk, a report says. This article over in Computer World. A majority of consumers want to interact with companies over social networks like Facebook and Twitter, but only 30% of businesses are prepared for it, according to a survey. 70% of consumers in a survey looking for information and communications on social networks say companies failing to get on board with them are putting themselves at risk. This is a survey done with over 750 Americans in March of April, and noted that consumer satisfaction with their business interaction on social networks came in at 65%. Interesting. Now, today I got my hands on a Droid X. Actually, a buddy of mine got one. He said, Todd, come look at this. I got a Droid X. And I was downtown, and he showed it to me, and he had stood in line to get one. And he had only had it just a little while. And, of course, I had it, and I started flipping around with it. And the first thing I'm going to do is load the browser and check out Geek News Central looked in the browser. Of course, there's no flash in it either. Big screen. Huge. Not as sexy as the iPhone screen, but it was big. It just didn't pop as much as if they had really put a high-quality screen in the Droid X, I think they would have really had something there. But the screen color was a little bit dim for me. But played with it for a few minutes there. It came with preloaded with some apps, and he was pretty excited about it. And we sat there and talked about it for a little bit. Did you get a Droid X? What's your feelings about it? geeknews@gmail.com, geeknews@gmail.com. You guys know I'm a big fan of the Ford and the Ford Sync. Well, boy, I tell you, they made a big advancement today. They've teamed up with Nuance. You guys, Nuance is the speech speech. The folks that actually can, I've got their Nuance, Dragon Natural Speaking. They do the actual translation. You can speak into a mic and they'll do a dictation for you. But anyway, Ford is partnered up with Nuance, and they've massively expanded the selection of voice commands. It's going to allow drivers to interact with Ford Sync to change radio stations, turn up the heat, find nearby grocery stores, and just using natural language. And they've got a pretty cool demo, and it's like find closest gas station. How many of you have even needed gas? And you know where the gas stations are in your neighborhood, but you don't know where one off is the next exit? I've been in rental cars many times where I wish I knew where the next gas station was. You know, that's probably the most important command that you could probably ever have in a car. You know, police station. Where is the closest hospital? And this will navigate you it'll help you through voice commands to get you there. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to just say something to your car and have it react. But they overhauled its intelligent sync system, and it now controls everything, and it recognizes over 10,000 voice commands. You got to see the video. Very, very cool. And, of course, I want to thank Ford for sending me some information on it in advance. Did not get to react on it as quick as I wanted to, but definitely check out the link I have up for you in the show notes. Hey, in the space news, Final Mercury Flyby reviews huge magnetic power surges on Mercury. And scientists are a little bit puzzled because the magnetic lines of flux coming off of Mercury is the weakest of all the planets. And what they think is happening, and this is as the spacecraft flew by, they saw this gigantic surge in the magnetic spectrum. And what they think is causing the change is solar winds. So the scientists are going, this is a little bit of a new discovery here. So now that this spacecraft is going to be setting up an orbit now around Mercury, they're going to be watching this when they're expected to have peak solar activity in 2012 and 2013. So we'll see what happens with this. But information over on National Geographic, nationalgeographic.com, of course. Senate committee today has decided to really cut the moon program. We knew this was coming. This was already laid out by the administration, and but they've made some compromises on the authorization bill. What they've done here is They've outlined the task and budgets for NASA over the next 3 years, and the bill has gained both the support of not only the White House but also the folks on the committee. And they're going to roll more money into civilians, letting civilian folks get heavy lift capability. They are going to add some money to a program that's going to be able to allow them to come up with a reusable vehicle. It also promotes maybe one more shuttle launch beyond the 2 that are already planned. So I don't know if that's actually going to happen. But NASA is being instructed to refurbish an old external fuel tank that had not been planned for flight. And a NASA official had said that the tank could be refurbished by next October, or about a year faster than earlier estimates. So they may get 3 more missions in out of the space shuttle. We'll see. But definitely moving around some money and some programs, and people are definitely going to be without jobs. Next article up, Audible has released an iPhone app. So if any of you remember when Audible was a sponsor here, you signed up for Audible, which I know that many of you did, make sure that you pick up their iPhone app so you can listen to Audible books on your iPhone. Down in Australia, a company down there has kind of figured out a little niche job. They've got a laser that maps space debris. And what they're going to be doing is they're going to be, through a grant by the Australian federal government, they are going to be selling that data to companies like the big space providers, the ones that have satellites up there, to show them where all the space debris is and projecting trajectories of junk so they can move satellites just in time in case there's an issue with some space debris, maybe getting ready to hit a satellite or so forth. But nice to see that the Australians are making moves on the space front as well and coming up with a way to track space junk and then sell that information back to companies. Smart. There has been some legal rulings on the right to be anonymous online, and it's kind of swung both ways. And this is an article over on Tech Dirt. 2 of the recent rulings really were completely different. One, they revealed some of the people and they kept some of the people anonymous. And in another ruling, they agreed to unmask all the users. So what really is going on here is that judges are kind of making this stuff up as they go. And they're seeming to pick and choose what they like or don't like about what they're calling the dendrite standard. And, this was the precedent-setting case that talks about anonymous comments and First Amendment rights. So it's interesting how this is going to develop. So be aware, you make an anonymous comment somewhere and you slander someone, you could be revealed. And, you think you're anonymous, but don't worry. They need to figure out who you are. They will. Now, the only bad thing, of course, I should have slid this down, but the only bad thing about the Droid X, and this has got to be a Motorola thing. If you hack it, you'll brick it. They have basically said if you try to do anything to your Droid X, if you tamper with it, they're going to brick the device. Wow. Motorola said, we understand there's a community of developers interested in going beyond Android application development, experimenting with Android system development and reflashing phones. For those developers, we highly recommend obtaining either a Google ADP-1 developer phone or a Nexus 1, both of which are intended for these purposes. At this time, Motorola Android-based handsets are intended for use by consumers and Android application developers, and we are currently choosing not to go into the business of providing fully unlocked developer phones. So basically, they're gonna brick them if they hack them. This is just aren't Droid phones all supposed to be open? Isn't that what Google said? Doesn't that irritate you Droid users? YouTube continues to take sites down on their 3-strike rule. The latest folks that got taken down was a dance company. They had over 300 videos online, and someone objected to some music being used in a dance routine that was copyrighted and complained 3 different times, and they lost their account, which was an integral part of their business promotion. So My recommendation to that company is to put those videos up on their own website and let the artist come after you and to ask you to take them down then. Court explores constitutionality of DNA sampling on anyone arrested on felony charges. Now, we know that recent stories have proven that this was, by the government having access to DNA information by fugitives and people that have picked up on felony charges. We know that we've been captured recently a serial killer, and really how they were able to do that was that the serial killer's brother had been picked up on a charge. His DNA had been, or his blood sample had been taken, his DNA put on file, and then they used what they called a familial, and it's basically a family-related DNA search, and they were able to figure out who this serial killer was because they found the brother's, actually the guy's son's DNA was really, really close, and just a little bit of investigation, they were able to arrest this guy. Now, while we all want serial killers off the street, so I'm sure this is going to come to a head on a constitutional question on whether or not anyone can be arrested. Now, while I was in the Navy, they took my blood and put a DNA on a DNA bank. All military members do. And I don't know. I don't know if that's federally accessible or not. I'm sure it would be if they thought I was doing something. But makes you wonder, really, how far they're going to go on DNA mapping all of us. Don't know if we talked about this in the last show or not, but the RIAA spent $17.6 million in lawsuits to get $391,000 in settlements. And yet, the RI leads got raises of about $1 million or $500,000 each. They were able to get $391,000 in settlements and spent $17.6 million. Isn't that a great return on investment for those lawsuits? Maybe that's why they kind of decided to stop. Hey, Firefox Home has been approved in the App Store. This is great news. So go download Firefox Home. So if you've got an iOS device and you use Firefox, you want to rush to get the new app. So get that downloaded on your phone. I'm going to be playing with it tomorrow. Those of you that like prosumer cameras, and Sony has come up with something kind of cool here, folks. And this is brand new. This is hot off the press. It's called the Sony NEX VG10. And this is by the folks over at Engadget. They got to see this overseas and in London today. But what's cool about this camera is that, let me see if I can bring up a picture here. It has the ability to change lenses on it. So let me bring up a picture that shows the lens. Is that one? Is that one? No. Let me see if I can find it. This is with the lens off. You can see the CMOS back there. But they've got an assortment of E-mount lenses. Actually, here's a picture. An assortment of E-mount lenses you can buy with this. So I'm not familiar with these E-mount lenses at all, but this is pretty cool. This, as far as I know, this is one of the very first consumer-based cameras where you're going to be able to actually change the lenses out on it. So pretty exciting stuff to me. I didn't even put that up in the... There we go. There you guys can see it. I didn't have to... I was looking at it over here on my screen, but I didn't put it up on your screen. So those of you on the video can check it out. But very, very cool stuff. All right. Hey, the Popbox Media Player $129.99 available today. We do not have a channel on it yet. We are working feverishly to get one on it, but I'll be ordering one of these. So Popbox Media Player is available now. And also, those of you that do any video encoding, the Elgato has debuted the Turbo .264 HD card software edition. So this is very cool. So if you have a Turbo .264 HD, this is a great way to speed up processing of your videos. And if you're not familiar with this at all and you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'll have the link up too in the show notes. It's just basically a little dongle that plugs into your Mac. And when you're encoding videos, you can choose you can choose the source, and then you choose the output. Whether it be iPad, Apple TV, iPod, iPhone. You go to Sony PST, you can do YouTube, YouTube HD, and put it in different, basically different levels. So, Anyway, I have a link up in the show notes, so pretty good stuff. They did, and what it does is speed up your processing time. So anyway, the conversion dongle is available. $99.99, I believe, is what the price is. They reduced it from $149.95. So again, this is the HD version of the Turbo Express card, I guess is for better words. Hey, this next, I've got one of these drives. Let me show you guys this drive. This is the Aegis Bio. Are you guys familiar with this drive? This drive, you can actually use your fingerprint to unlock it. And the reason I like these drives is that it just gives you, being traveling a lot, you just never know when you're going to need some additional protection. I'm sure many of you are travel with just a hard drive, and it's got, think about what's on that hard drive. And if it's not encrypted, this is, in my recommendation, probably one of the best investments you can make. It's going to make it very hard for someone to get access to the data here that you have in your hard drive. And I've got one of these that I carried. I've got all my really kind of important docs in. I don't keep important documents actually on my computer because of the theft rates of computers these days. But this Aegis Bio, I've got one of these. I can vouch for the company, and I like it. Now I'm sure someone's going to write me back and tell me that these things are junk, but so far they've gotten great reviews out there, and at least for me, it gives me an extra layer of security that I really like. Okay, let me go ahead here and get into. We have no voicemails tonight for the show, but I do have a few emails that we can get into. Again, if you have comments on today's show, feel free to give me a jingle here at Geek News Central at 619-342-7365. All right, the first article up is from Jim. He said, "Hey, Todd, I really like your show and bought your podcasting book about 5 years ago." Amazing it's been 5 years, isn't it, Jim? Because that book came out almost, a little over 5 years ago, May of 2005. So, wow, been a while, hasn't it? But anyway, he said, "I thought you would really find this story interesting. And what it talks about is the increase in solar flares that's going to be happening in the next couple of years." So thanks for sending that over to me. I definitely appreciate it. Got an email here from Chucker Tom. He says, "Hey, Todd, you got to check this out. Vaseline launches skin whitening Facebook app for India." Now, here's the start. And when I first saw this, I thought, oh my God, what has Vaseline done? I'm thinking this is going to turn into a big, oh man, I thought this was going to be horrible, because it just doesn't sound good until you read more into it. Now, someone may correct me if I'm wrong, but according to this story that came out of New Zealand, it says Indians believe that if you have fair skin, you belong to the higher caste, the Brahmins. He added, explaining that a succession of light-skinned colonizers in India reinforced association of fairness with power. But, when I read this, I was like, whoa, do that in the United States, and they would never sell another product in existence. But anyway, I'll have this link up for you in the show notes. But it just goes to show you what would not be politically correct here, maybe okay there. And I'm still a little bit on the, this is kind of weird thing. But yeah, a skin whitening Facebook app for India. So it just doesn't just kind of, for all you guys, doesn't just kind of make go, huh? And I know we have a number of Indian listeners, so I'm sure they're going to tell me about this, whether this was racist or not. And when I read it, I thought it was. Got an idea here from Suetta. She says, "Hey, Todd, while text messaging has simplified many of our lives, a haste of which texts and replies often set can result in a disaster. All it takes is one for your eyes-only messages texted to the wrong recipient. You could find yourself facing awkward apologies." You guys ever do that? Ever send a fax somewhere or send a text somewhere that you weren't meaning to? Here's an example. A California woman sent hundreds of threatening texts to herself in an attempt to frame a former boyfriend. She's in jail now. She's facing jail time. Attempting to send a text while walking, a teen on Staten Island instead found herself covered in raw sewage after falling down an open manhole. Ooh. I'm a little drunk. While it would be funny in one of her big screen spoofs, actress Anna Faris admits that nobody was laughing when she accidentally sent a "let's get drunk together" text to a small child. So anyway, what this is about is there's a new company out there called Predicto, Predicto, and it basically is a pretty cool site that talks about current issues, and they've gotten pretty good traffic right now. So if you guys want to check this site out, I've been kind of following it lately and had a few emails back and forth with their PR folks, but pretty good site. Check it out. Let me know what you think. I have it linked up in the show notes. I got an email from Frank. He said, in Tuesday's show, you asked about phone apps your listeners depend on. He said, I can't one answer. The app I use the most is, without a doubt, Opera Mini. The ones I depend on most, I can't pick just one, are the calendar and Documents to Go. The calendar because I don't have to remember to look at it. It reminds me of stuff automatically. Docs to Go because I use it for shopping lists, to-do lists, and stuff like that. I constantly forget paper lists. I never forget my phone. That's probably true. Probably true, Frank. And thanks for sending an email over. You know what my wife uses her iPhone the most for? Her schedule. I say that kind of quiet. She puts her entire... I don't put as much schedule into mine as it does hers. Now, how can you sync schedules? Can you guys... Anybody know of an app that'll do that where she's got a schedule and I can get synced? Because oftentimes she'll say, oh, don't forget that concert on Friday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I need you there. I'm like, well, what concert? Well, honey, I told you about that. Is there any iPhone app that will sync calendars within the actual iPhone app? You know, is there a way to do that? So that it's automatic? Mark sent me an email. Hey, Todd, the app that I can't live without is Google Listen. I listen to podcasts, or netcasts as I like to call them, all day, every day. I'm able to do this because I'm a professional motor coach driver. I drive from D.C. to New York and back 5 days a week. Whew, that's a drive, my friend. Netcasts like yours and from CNET, Twit, ESPN, Wall Street Journal, and others really help during the 9 hours of driving a day pass by really quickly. It doesn't do video, but obviously that doesn't matter because I'm driving. People say they're better podcatchers in the Android market, but the UI in Google Listen just fits naturally with the Android operating system. I use a Nexus 1. Now, a couple of weeks ago, you asked for suggestions on how to improve the show. I'd like to second the gentleman who suggested you turn up the microphone. Whenever another show goes off and yours comes on, I have to turn the volume all the way up. I'm still struggling a bit to hear you. Often when you play voicemail, they sound a lot louder than you do. Also, the show intro is playing at the correct volume, so I think it's just your mic. Please pot it up. I've been listening for about 3 months now. I really like the show. Keep up the great work. Mark, the driver, Silver Spring, Maryland. And how was the last one? Because I really cranked it up. And you know what's going on is ever since I bought this new machine, it compresses. Actually, Adobe Edition 3 cranks. I get it all set nice, perfect, and I actually do the encode, and it smashes it down again. So the last show, I changed some levels in it, and I hope it's better, Mark. Let me know today as well on this show. Did I get the volume cranked up enough for you so that you didn't have to crank it all the way up? But anyway, that's going to wrap us up today, folks. Geeknews@gmail.com. Geeknews@gmail.com. Of course, call the voicemail hotline at 619-342-7365. 619-342-7365. It's been my pleasure to bring the show to you. I want to thank you for hanging out with me today. And send your comments, of course, and we want to hear from you. I'll be back with you here in the studio in Honolulu. It's beautiful. I've been here. It's wonderful to not have to travel. I'm thinking right now that maybe I might be going out to Albuquerque the second week of August, and then I definitely know I'm going on travel the end of the month of August. So, but for at least the rest of the month, I'm here in Hawaii, which is a wonderful thing, not to have to be packing my bags and going any place. So lots of exciting stuff coming. Show 600 is on the horizon. Keep those comments coming on what you would do with Show 600. But until next time, everyone, take care. We'll see you next week. Have a great weekend. Aloha.